So our next presenter is someone that you have heard from before. We're going to shift gears a little bit. Howard was in the midstream space, and now we're moving over to Mr. Pipeline himself at Esri, Jeff Allen. Jeff, there you go.
Thank you, Adam. Morning, everybody. This morning we want to talk a little about what we're doing for the pipeline industry at Esri. It's a very exciting time to be here at Esri working on this technology. Over the years, moving beyond putting the basic center line into the GIS and sharing that information out with the rest of the organization has been a challenge. So at Esri, we've really put some focus on how we can enable the core platform to easily take pipeline data, put it in the system, manage it, and get it out to the rest of the organization. So when we think of the pipeline, we think of the data that we need to supply to that organization, we really try to break it down into two categories. We've certainly been focused for many years on maintaining the system of record. These are those pipeline assets, the routes, the engineering station, all that detailed information about the pipeline center line and the assets that are on those center lines. But equal to that, and really the new focus for us, is how do we easily take that information from that system of record and share it with everybody else in the organization and give them tools and core technology to make non-GS professionals more adept at using that data and more efficient in their workflows. So when we look at all the people across the organization who have the ability to use this system of engagement, we really start finding patterns for this pipeline data all across the different groups within the organization. And so one of our focuses at Esri is to figure out what those usage patterns are, figure out how that core data needs to be managed to support those organizations, and then give you guys templates that you can then implement in your organization, either from an operator perspective or from a business partner perspective, and really make that information from the pipeline pervasive across the whole organization. So to that end, we really had to rewind a little bit. Before we can do a comprehensive system of engagement, we've really got to get that core data management story down for pipelines. So to that end, we've been developing, and at Pro 1.4, we're releasing ArcGIS pipeline referencing. And what ArcGIS pipeline referencing does is allows you to do all that heavy data management that we have to do on pipelines within the core system or the core platform. So there's a couple different pieces that we're going to be releasing with this extension. One is the route editing. So this is going to be an extension to Pro that allows you to do the core data maintenance of those centerline routes, all the stationing, the equations, everything you do to set up the pipeline centerline and the pipeline measurement systems will be done in the route editing tools. From there, we need to obviously place all the facilities along those routes. So there'll be a web editing tool that you can deploy that allows folks in the organization to do data edits along those pipelines to add all the detailed information that we need to support that system of engagement. Along with that will come a reporting tool to allow us to analyze the data in that pipeline repository, as well as some geoprocessing, web service, and event behaviors that will all be core to the platform. The web services is actually a very key component, because once we have this data within the pipeline GIS, now we can use those web services to enable pipeline functionality in all our web maps that we use on Portal and how we get that information out to the rest of the organization. So to that end, let me take a couple minutes to show you what we've done in this technology and how we're going to utilize this going forward. So how many times has someone in the organization come to you and said, hey, here's a odometer, here's a spreadsheet of odometer readings that we got from an ILI vendor. I want to plot these on the map. You know, pretty simple request, but if you start to dig into the details of how this actually happens, it's very complex to take a measurement system that isn't necessarily in alignment with your pipeline centerline or engineering stationing, align this to the centerline, and get this information on the map. So I took a look at this problem, and I started to look at what we were doing in the APR. And one of the nice things about the ArcGIS pipeline referencing, it allows us to set up multiple measurement systems on a single shared center line. So I'm going to switch over to ArcGIS Pro now and show you what we did to pull this off. And so this is a new sample data set that we've been building behind the scenes at Esri to kind of show the power of APR. So we've got a number of different systems here. We've got a crude oil system, a transmission system, some gathering systems, a refined product, and a gas pipeline. And for this demo today, we're going to kind of focus in on this crude oil system. And as you start zooming in the maps, you can start seeing we've got some pump stations along those lines. And what's happening behind the scenes here, we've got multiple segments that make up this crude oil system. So those are, on a higher level, the lines go from the pump stations to the pump stations, but at the secondary level, we have mainline valve sections. So if I simply select on one of these sections of the pipe, you can see I've got two measurement systems on this pipe. I've got the continuous network system, which is a longer system of continuous stationing, as well as a mainline valve section. And these mainline valves, the stationing might reset at 0 along the way. Now for my sample of the ILI data, what's the troublesome part of that is I have two launch and receivers along that pipeline segment. They might not necessarily correlate to how I've got my system segmented. So this is a different, yet another different organizational structure to my pipeline. So in this example, what we've done is we've taken the shared center line and we've built yet another network along that line. So now we have 3 measurement systems all sharing the same shared center line. So we've got the continuous network. Now we have this new odometer network that goes from mainline 19 to mainline valve 23, as well as the continuous measure or the engineering network station where I clicked on that mainline valve 119. So the next thing I need to do is I actually have to now calibrate that line to this new odometer measurement system. So one of the ways we can do that is on that spreadsheet also comes a number of above-line markers or magnets that the pig passed through as it traversed the pipeline. And those magnet locations all have GPS associated with them. So I'm going to turn on those AGM locations now. And you can see they're segmented along the pipeline at regular intervals. Within those ILIs, as the pig passed through them, it would give me an odometer reading at that geographic location. So what we did is we actually took those AGMs and then calibrated this route down to the individual locations along the center line. So if I zoom in a little bit now, you can see we now have calibration points that now dictate a geographic location and an odometer reading at those points. Now I've only done this at the AGM level. You can now go to the next level and find any feature in the GIS that the pig picked up, taps, T's, valves, and set more control points. But if you can see, I'm not really converting my odometer readings to engineering station. I'm creating yet another continuous odometer measurement system sitting on top of my engineering stationing. Once I have the route calibrated, it's then very easy to take that ILI spreadsheet and simply load that data onto the map. So now I'm showing, without really converting any of those odometer readings to engineering stationing, I'm plotting all the locations of that spreadsheet in the GIS, and now I can start sharing that information out to the rest of the organization. As I use APR and I bring event data into the GIS, it's actually creating features in the geodatabase. Those features are then easily shareable or usable throughout the rest of the platform. So in our sample here, we've got a couple of different anomaly locations that we filtered out. So we've got some dents, some melt wall level loss. And these are locations in the field now I want to go out and potentially dig and do some anomaly investigation. So we're actually showing in the workshop tomorrow morning how we can now take this data, integrate it with Workforce, integrate it with the Survey 123 application, and really round trip this data back from the field and bring those inspections back in, load them back into the GIS, and then make any appropriate changes to the core center line we need. Maybe there's some sleeves, or maybe there's a pipe replacement that happens in this area. So this is very powerful. We've been doing this for years in the core system of record. It's a little easier now because we've put some of this core pipeline functionality into the GIS for you. But now let me show you how we use this from a system of engagement perspective. So now I want to share that information out to the rest of my organization or my non-GIS users. So one of the things that we do is obviously we can share those features, but from a measurement perspective, we want to be able to navigate to locations along the pipeline and do pipeline measurements on the map. So here's a simple widget that we've developed that you can plug into any web app builder. This is available to you, and what it's really doing is using those web services now to talk to APR and say, here's a location along the pipeline, I'm on Route 119, please take me to this geographic location. There's no feature there, this is just a random location around the pipeline at 27,600. So when I do that, what it's doing is talking to APR, it's going back to the server, it's taking that route and station measure, generating a geographic location and bringing that back and plotting it on my map. So from an end user perspective, I don't need to know anything about how the geo database or how the pods database or how UPDM is constructed. All I know is I want to locate myself on the map and drive me there. Certainly, if I have a location I want to measure on the map, simply just dragging over and dropping my pointer on the map will give me the route and the measure where I hit. Those are two common sort of translations we do in pipeline all the time. I have a route and a measure, take me there, or I have a location on the map, tell me what my route and measure is. So again, these are two widgets that you can now place and drag and drop using the web app builder on any of the different maps that you display and send out to the pipeline folks. So that's pretty interesting, but let's show you one more thing. I go back to the user that gave me that Excel spreadsheet and really wanted to visualize that data on the map. So what if I just gave him a web map, and using the power of ArcGIS and the APR, allowed him to just take that Excel file, drag it onto the web map, and automatically georeference all those locations to the center line and the odometer readings. So that's now on the fly, taking all that Excel data that was in there, using those odometer readings, going against the core measurement system that I created in APR, and being able to display that information on the map and give the end user an experience that allows us to really extend that system of engagement beyond the core GIS professionals and give pipeline functionality and this route measurement technology to everybody in the organization as simply as dragging and dropping an Excel spreadsheet on the web map. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeff. Watching him present all of that, there's a couple things that I saw. One, I'm no pipeline person, and that was, ArcGIS for pipeline referencing. So to me, that's kind of confusing stuff when I see all the different center lines and things that have to happen on the back end that a professional sets up. But I could sure use the end user apps, right? The web app versions of that and the end user pieces. So that's exciting to see that stuff coming down the pipe, right?